outer aspect of the left hip bone. So over here we have the hip bone, but this time we have the right side hip bone. So this is our hip bone. On the top we have the ilium. This is the anterior side, so pubis. Posterior side, ischium. You have the foramen, obturator foramen. This is the inner aspect. This is the outer aspect. How to recognize this? You can see this acetabulum. Over here the head of femur articulates, forming the ball and socket type of synovial, that is a hip joint. Coming back to the hip bone, right side, how to hold it? You can hold it using your first web space, hold the greater sciatic notch. Your first web space should be holding the greater sciatic notch. You can hold it like this. Two important points. This is your ASIS, anterior superior iliac spine, iliac crest, ASIS. This is your pubis bone. So you have the pubic crest over here and the lateral end of the pubic crest right over here. This whole is pubic crest, this lateral end is your pubic tubercle. So when you hold this bone, remember this ASIS and pubic tubercle should be in the same coronal plane. And this pubic symphysis, why pubic symphysis over here? It is a type of secondary cartilaginous joint. Why? Because the left hip bone has to be situated over here. So that left hip bone will articulate over here. So when you hold it in the anatomical position, the ASIS and the pubic tubercle should be in the same coronal plane. Very, very important. The pubic symphysis should be in the median plane. Should be in the median plane. And behind this whole hip bone, you have the vertebrae coming down. Was here the weight transmission is going to take place. As we studied in the upper limb, the weight from the upper limb will go to the sternum, from there to the ribs to the vertebrae. Now vertebrae are the connecting link between the upper body and the lower body. Else you don't have any other bone. The only bone that connects upper body, lower bodies are the vertebrae. So here you will have the lumbar vertebrae L1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you will have sacrum. Now this sacrum articulates with the ilium bone or iliac bone, forming the sacroiliac joint over here. This is the area where the sacroiliac joint will form. So you have a sacrum over here. So left hip bone will come. You have a single sacrum going like this, articulate with right ilium and left ilium, forming the two sacroiliac joints. So again I repeat, ASIS, pubic tubercle in the same coronal plane, pubic symphysis in the median plane. Again the same thing we discussed, iliac crest, iliac fossa, ASIS, AIIS, anterior inferior, posterior superior iliac spine, posterior inferior iliac spine, greater sciatic notch, ischial spine, lesser sciatic notch, ischium, ischial tuberosity, ischial rami or ramus of ischium, inferior pubic rami, this is your pubis, inferior pubic rami, superior pubic rami. This forms the ischiopubic ramus. Foramen is obturator foramen. This was the outer aspect, gluteal surface. This will give attachment to the gluteal muscles that will go and insert into the upper part of femur, forming your buttocks or hip region. Then you have already discussed acetabulum for the hip joint, and then lower down you have ischial tuberosity. Now see what happens. How to understand this? Very simple. Although the design is slightly complicated, but if you study for 2-3 times, it will become familiar. Now I told you in the thigh or the leg region you have how many compartments? You have 3 compartments, contrary to the 2 compartments in the upper leg. So what are those 3 compartments? Anterior compartment, medial compartment and posterior compartment. You have anterior compartment, you have medial compartment and you have posterior compartment in the thigh region. So what happens is that this ilium bone, its anterior part give rise to few muscles that will go anteriorly. This pubis bone, as you can see, it is lying antero, inferiorly and medially. So from here, the muscles which will come down, they will form the medial compartment of thigh. Just try to understand. If I articulate this femur also, now things will become better. So from here the muscles will come and they will go anteriorly, forming the anterior compartment or the extensor compartment of thigh. We'll come to that part, why it is the extensor compartment. Now if you see this pubis area of this hip bone, from here if you just imagine muscles going down into which part of the thigh? Medial part of thigh. Now look at from behind. You have this ischial tuberosity over here. This is the posterior aspect of femur or posterior aspect of whole thigh. If the muscles are going down from the ischial tuberosity or the ischium, in which compartment will they go? They will go into the posterior compartment or the flexor compartment. So just understand from the ischium, as it is lying posteriorly, muscles which will emerge from the ischial tuberosity will mainly form the posterior or the hamstring or the flexor compartment of thigh. Muscles which are coming from around the pubis, medial compartment or the adductor compartment of the thigh. Muscles coming from the ilium or the anterior part of ilium, the anterior or the extensor compartment of thigh. Clear? So that was general overview about the hip bone. Now let's proceed further into the femur. Now here you can see the femur of which side? This is the femur of left side, not the right, but it is of the left side. Now peculiar features, again a typical long bone, two ends and a shaft, upper, lower and a shaft. So this is your upper end. This is your upper end. This will be your lower end, and this whole between upper and lower you have the shaft area. Again see the similarities. Upper end over here again is having what? A head, a rounded head. So here we have the head of the femur. There we had the head of humerus. Then there we had muscles, but they were less in size compared to the muscles in the lower limb. So we had tubercles, a greater tubercle, lesser tubercle. Here also we will have the muscles, but the muscles are bigger in size. So the elevations or the projections coming from the bone will be more in size, bigger in size. So here they are known as trochanters. They are known as trochanters. A lesser trochanter over this side, and this forms your greater trochanter. GR, greater trochanter. Then obviously beneath the head you have this big neck, and then you have the shaft, as already discussed. Then below, if you go below, then you have the two condyles. Again remember, at the lower end of humerus you have capitulum and trochlea. Why? Because in the forearm you have two bones, in the leg again you have two bones, tibia, fibula. So just imagine from there that you have two bones over here, so you have two condyles. These are your two condyles of femur. Although they both articulate with the tibia only, fibula is very small in size compared to tibia. Clear? So lower end is this, which will give rise to condyles of the femur. Now if you see this femur again, but in the posterior view, this will be from your posterior aspect of the left femur. Again the same things, head, you have head over here, and for neck over here you have the greater trochanter over here, you have the lesser trochanter over here. This whole is the shaft. Very important, this lining over here is your linea aspera. What is this linea aspera? From this linea aspera takes the origin or the attachment of various muscles. So you have a typical lining, typical elevation, longitudinal over the posterior aspect of femur, known as the linea aspera. Now below this you have again the lower end of femur. You can see these two condyles, they articulate and they form the part of knee joint. Clear? Again if we try to see this with our osteology, the bone part, femur. Now this femur over here is not the left but the right femur, anterior view of the right femur. Now look at the rounded head that will articulate with our acetabulum forming the hip joint, as we already discussed. Now what is the difference over here? As we already discussed. Now this ball over here, and look at the area of the socket, they are very much comparable to each other. So this ball fits in deep into the socket. Therefore the dislocation of the hip joints are very less in number, very less in percentage compared to the dislocation of the shoulder joint. This is a typical, a very good example of ball and socket joint. You can see the ball size, you can see the socket size. And then you have a prolonged neck. Now what is the use of this neck that is so long in size compared to the other necks? That is anatomy. Why? Because you need, what is the lower limb for? It is for walking. So when you walk, your two legs have to be separate with each other. They shouldn't strike with each other, else you will have genu valgum, knock knee. So normal anatomy is the neck, they go slightly laterally. So you have space between the two legs, so it helps in walking, running and moving around here and there. Why? Because that is the fundamental function of the lower limb. So here you have the neck, then you have the greater and lesser trochanters, then you have the huge shaft, then you have the lower end, you have the condyles, and posteriorly you can see this linea aspera, giving rise to the various other attachments. So these are the trochanters. If you see it from posteriorly, a very important area is over here, a fossa known as trochanteric fossa over here. This is the trochanteric fossa over here. Clear? So head, neck, trochanters, upper end, shaft, lower end. This is your lower end, your medial condyle, your lateral condyle. Below you will have the tibia forming the knee joint, So moving ahead from this osteology part,